Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, quite possibly the worst detective in the world, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
I'm not that bad.
On this week's show, we're going to talk a little bit more about the MCU and the DCEU, spoiler alert, before we dive into Murder on the Orient Express. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
I'm going to tell you, and then it's going to sound like I'm walking away, and that's because I'm walking away because I forgot to grab the box again.
Classic. I have a little story to tell while you grab the box this time.
It's Southern Tier Warlock Imperial Stout. It's an ale brewed with pumpkin and pumpkin pie spice.
Yes, it is. So, you might have heard some good sound effects that time around. It sounded pretty good to me in my headphones here. The problem is, the last few weeks, I feel like the sound effects have not been on par, and it's just been a struggle trying to coordinate with Al and getting the bottle opening just right. So this time, I was like all nervous and shaking. I was like, I'm gonna do it just right, and I clicked it. And I was making clinking sounds. It was doing all great, but then I opened it, and the bottle cap went flying. There's beer once again everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we both had our problems with that, but you have been way worse at just getting beer everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, but every time I get the beer all over the place, though, it sounds great.
Debatable.
Trade-offs.
Last week was a struggle because we tried the whole not even silent countdown. I was just supposed to go on your movement.
Yeah.
That was a train wreck.
Yeah, that was. I think we're just gonna start. We're just gonna hit. I'm gonna hit record next week, and we're just gonna go. I'm just gonna be Al. Open your beer. That's it. This beer's dark.
Yeah, I mean it's an Imperial Stout, so it should be just about jet black.
It's aggressively dark.
Yeah.
No light coming through there.
No, nor will there ever be.
This is the absence. Oh my god.
So, do you want to talk about the beer first, or you want to take a sip and?
Geez, I mean, this shouldn't impress me that much.
You're just staring at the beer.
It's so dark. I'm holding it up to the light and I can't see anything. All right, let's take a sip, shall we? Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, Al, you've done it again.
I'm on a roll.
We are 3 for 3. I am liking that. I like this better than the last one.
The last one was
The letters.
Chocoveza.
The one with the letters.
That one was good, but this one's definitely better.
Oh yeah, this is super smooth. This is like.
And I really like this one, but I still think that in recent vintage, the honey brown porter, that one was so good.
Yeah, that was really good. That's right up there with this one for me. I don't know which one I actually prefer here. I might like this one a little bit more. Here's what I don't like. I broke the bank again on this. It was this one cost me. The last one was what I say was like $18 for a 6-pack. The last one that I got that you picked.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then this one was $16 for a 4-pack. What's happening?
What's happening is you need to find a better store because again, I don't think this was that much. I think it was like 13 or 14.
I'm actually okay with it for this one. I really like this one. I'm having a moment with this beer.
It's like silky smooth.
Oh my god, that aroma. Ooh. What is that?
It's actually, you can definitely tell that there is both pumpkin and pumpkin spice because a lot of pumpkin beers, and you should be an expert on this topic as well after the pumpkin beer festivals we've done at your...
Listen, getting hammered on pumpkin beer does not make me an expert on the subject.
Well,
it means that about 3/4 of the way through I can't taste anything.
It should make you an expert on what pumpkin beers have pumpkin in them or not, and what language they put on those boxes to lie to you.
Okay, that's fair.
Because just because you had 40 of them in your house at a time, you should have gotten the gist of it, you know what I mean?
That's true. That was 40 pounds ago, Al.
Congratulations, man.
That was a... What?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you kindly.
There's a lot of pumpkin beers, though. They'll say, it'll be like something pumpkin, like pumpkin flavored beer, or
it'll just say pumpkin spiced.
Yeah, or it'll be like pumpkin pie beer, but it doesn't actually have, and then it just has pumpkin pie spice, which is fine.
Yeah, this one goes out of its way though.
it's like, yeah, the way they do it is to trick you into thinking it has pumpkin. Those beers can taste good and they're fine. It's just
Sure.
like sometimes they almost falsely advertise.
Right. Yeah. This one's got right up there with pumpkin and with pumpkin pie spice.
Yeah. So as long as they do stuff like that, I'm good with it. However
it.
they want to do it, as long as they're telling you out front that don't have to like forget your magnifying glass to find it. Be easy over there. This is a strong beer. It's 8.5%.
But it's so good. Here's the thing. I want an air freshener made out of the scent. That's how good it smells.
No, it smells delightful.
Wonderful.
So I don't know if you can see what I'm drinking out of. I'm drinking it out of a stout mug.
Nice.
It is the
hold that up. Hold that up to the camera for me. A little higher. A little higher. A little higher. Okay. Nice. There it is. I've been missing the Al's Ales lately. We're gonna have to get back on that.
The Al's Ales mug, and the reason I'm drinking it out of the Al's Ales mug is because we're not too far away from having new Al's Ales.
Oh yeah! When are we doing it?
Oh no, I brewed one yesterday.
Yes.
So it won't be ready for the Christmas episode.
Okay.
But it will be ready for Christmas.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I didn't look at what the exact date will be, but it'll be ready the week of Christmas.
Nice. I'm excited.
It is a porter. It'll be about a little short of 5% alcohol by volume. It's not going to be quite as pitch black as this beer, but pretty close.
Okay. Can I shine a light through it? No.
I don't know. It didn't seem like it, but I also had it in much larger quantities.
Sure.
Like 5+ gallons of it, so hard to judge that. But I'm pretty excited about it because I've been, not unlike an exiled warrior in disgrace, shaming myself. I've basically been Luke Skywalker, shaming myself and isolating myself from the beer-making world.
It's just... we do need to do, like, a Photoshop of that scene where it's you under the hood, and I'm handing you a beer.
Yes.
That should be our new logo.
We'll do it perfect. I'll take some hot sauce. I'll rub it in my eyes so it looks like I'm just on the verge of tears with bloodshot eyes, and
nice.
It'll be perfect. It'll be beautiful. That'll be our episode. That could be the Flix and the Six Christmas card.
I like it. What makes an Imperial Stout?
For one, the alcohol content.
Okay.
It's hard to. I mean, I'm sure that's kind of been lost in translation. Well, so if you want to talk about the original, the Imperial Stout, where that name came from, was literally British beer that was stout that was brewed for the Russian Imperial Court. Mm. I forget which Russian Tsar was a huge fan. I want to say it was Peter, but I could be wrong. Peter the Great. He was a huge fan of British beer, and so he contracted a specific brewery back in the time, whenever that was, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, whenever the hell it was. But I'm a little hazy on my Russian history, but he had done, as a younger man, he had come to England for schooling and stuff like that. All those monarchs, when they're young men and women, they go to other countries for schooling, and that's how they kept the ties between this. So he contracted a brewery to make him British beer and shipped the British beer to him because he loved it so much from his time spent there. And that was how the style of Imperial Stout, that style of beer, was what was made by the British brewers for the Imperial Court in Russia.
Very cool.
So this is basically in that style of beer that he desired, because he was an alcoholic and loved alcohol, so these beers have high alcohol contents, et cetera, so on.
Nice. I'm gonna touch on the bottle art here for a second. We have this really sweet looking jack-o'-lantern with a wizard's hat on.
Yep. Which
is great. It's like he's wearing the sorting hat over here. It's beautiful.
Well, actually, what it reminded me of is actually from Fantasia.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it's got, like the stars and the moons on it, like.
Right. Then we have this. The label itself is like a really. When I picked it up, I didn't realize, because I can have an issue with colors here and there, but when I picked this up, I didn't realize how the majority of the label is like a deep, dark purple color.
Do you have colorblindness issues? I don't think I've heard.
No, No, not color blindness, but I have issues. And but it's really cool. It's like this really dark purple with like these little black stars on it. It's just really nice. It's very everything about the label is very subtle, but it's really nice. But then I turned it to the side and I read on the top right it says vintage 2017, and then underneath that it says brewed and bottled by Southern Tier Brewing Company, Lakewood, New York, USA. Why the hell not?
Yep.
I love that. That's great.
So after all that effort, I went to go and get the box. There is no new information on there, so that's what you're getting from this.
We did
this beer talk. What?
We did it.
Yeah, we did it. The beer is delicious. It's strong.
It is.
If you enjoy pumpkin beers,
if you're familiar with Kingsman,
yes.
Harry takes his final sip of Guinness and he makes it look so delicious. And this is what I imagine that tasted like to him. Does that help you? Does that describe it well for you?
The sweet nectar of the gods.
Right. This is so good.
Yeah, it's so good that at an undetermined point where it seems like you're going to be talking for a while, you're going to look in the camera and you're going to see I'm not there. It's because I'm sneaking away to get the last one that I have.
Nice. It's better than drinking out of the giant jug of beer that you pulled out last week.
There is no evidence that happened.
I know. If only I recorded the show.
What?
If only I recorded the show, the video of the show, that is.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening who weren't listening last week or were confused because I definitely tried to skate by it, I wanted to drink more beer than just the beer that we had for the last episode, and I had leftover beer in a gallon growler, and I didn't tell Anthony that I had that in arm's reach. And after I finished drinking my beer, I just grabbed... I didn't want to use the same glass because I had an IPA in the growler, and I had that chocolate stout in the glass, and so I just grabbed the entire growler and I tipped it up with two hands and was drinking it. And I did it like 2 times before Anthony said anything.
It might as well have been a jug with like the X's on it. Like you just looked like Bluto. It was ridiculous.
And also, like, I was like super cramped, and like I didn't want to say anything, but I also wanted to make sure that there was 100% chance you'd see it in the camera. And the angle that it was at, I had to like crouch down and like tilt it up with 2 hands to like not spill it.
So stupid. So big news here.
Okay.
The Avengers trailer drops tomorrow. So you're not going to hear about it from us for another like 2 weeks because we're recording a week ahead. Little inside.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
that. Yeah. We didn't release an episode last week. We apologize. It was half ready.
No. When they're listening to this, we won't have released an episode 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Because last week's
right, we can't apologize for it because in that episode, because that episode's done, and I've already done the editing on that.
Yes, but we kind of forgot, and also it was Thanksgiving,
turkey, and whatnot.
So.
Yeah. So I know this is not new news, super newsy. This beer's good. The MCU, there was a statement that something's going to happen in the new Avengers movie that has not been done in one of these superhero movies before, and that is it's going to be a finale. And that everything before that was the statement. It's
going to be a finale?
Yes.
Infinity Wars Part 1 or Part 2?
That wasn't clear to me in what I read. And that's not really what's. I'm not even. I don't care about that fact right now. I don't want to know too. The thing is, I'm trying to stay a little bit away from it. I don't want to have anything kind of ruined for me. I want to try to go in fresh. I'm excited for the trailer, but after this trailer, I'm not going to look anymore. Like it.
Well, you realize that this movie's still not going to come out for like almost another year, right?
Mm-hmm. I do, but you know how I am with trailers and how frustrated I've been lately. So I want to try and.
There's plenty of time for them to rewrite and reshoot and re-edit and change all the posters for... Oh, wait, no, sorry. This is Marvel, not DC.
Oh,
get all
that. That's messed up, but totally accurate. So it's like there's going to be like everything before either this movie or these 2 movies and everything after it. There's tons of rumors out there, things going around, like the reality stone could be used to just basically reset the universe, things like this, which is interesting concept. How do you feel about that?
Well, if they do that thing, then this will stop being comic book movies and it'll be comic books at that point.
Yeah.
Which I don't love per se, because the whole point of putting this on screen is to get the spirit of that, but do it as movies, not as just comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it's a good thing they're doing that, because you can already see they've rewritten Flash 18 times in DC, because they're going to do Flashpoint, and they're going to use that to try and erase the shit we've been watching for the last 3 years. So good on the Avengers, I guess, for doing it first.
Yeah.
And really sticking it to DC.
Literally doing everything right first.
But no, I don't want a hard reset, because you know that some of these characters are going to go by the wayside, because it's launched the careers of some of these actors and actresses to new heights, and some of them have just gotten tired. You can kind of hear it from the way they're talking about it, and it's not super cost effective as these budgets keep going up, and Robert Downey Jr. is going to get paid like $100 million to do Infinity War Part 2, so it's not sustainable, and also he doesn't want to do that movie for the next 30 years.
Right.
So Robert Downey's probably going to exit at some point. Chris Evans is going to exit. Someone like Chris Hemsworth will probably want to stick around. Mm-hmm. And there's room for that character to stick around, but we've kind of gotten the full arc, or we will have gotten the full arc of characters like Captain America and Iron Man by the time those two movies come out,
Yeah, that statement makes me really excited for this. It's cool if it if there's an ending, and it's cool if they do it in a way that it still works for them, where they can make more movies, and it's basically a new age of this stuff.
Well, it's going to be an ellipses, not just a hard
period.
You know what I mean? It'll be to be continued. It'll just be in a new but similar form, Because we're going to get, think about it. We got Ant-Man, so that's new. He's going to be someone who takes the mantle up. We still haven't gotten Captain Marvel yet. She's still getting an origin in, 2019?
Right.
Her movie takes place 20 years ago.
Yeah, and she's part of the new age of this.
She's part of Phase 4, I guess this is a little bit.
Something like that. I don't remember how they...
You have an Ant-Man and a Captain Marvel, and you have someone like Falcon, who you see they want, I think, to push into bigger roles, although I don't know how much longer Anthony Mackie will be interested in doing this. You have Doctor Strange, who's just last year had his first movie, although... Benedict Cumberbatch seems cool, and he seems to be enjoying all this stuff, and seems to be enjoying being part of these, genre things, So maybe he will want to stick around for a while, but he's become a pretty big star. They probably got him a little too late,
Right. Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? I'm happy with the way that they've been doing this.
No, I don't mean it in that sense. I just mean, there's a timeline of getting a Doctor Strange made and choosing him. I think he was the right choice. I think he did a good job with the character, but he's a little later on the arc of his career. He's already a bona fide star in his own right without this movie, as opposed to a lot of the other actors and actresses kind of moving from either not known at all to known pretty well, or that guy who's in a few things to a pretty well-known household name. He was already kind of a star in his own right. It's really the first one of these who's gotten that. Robert Downey Jr. is a different thing, because this was part of his redemption tour,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I you know what though? Whatever they do, I'm excited. I want to see how it goes. I trust them.
Well, that's what it is. Whatever they want to do, I'm potentially excited for it, because I trust them, because they've gotten so few things wrong.
Right.
There's been one or two movies that weren't great, like an Iron Man 2 or something like that, which is still better than anything other than Wonder Woman that DC's done. So
here's an ending that I can give you, that anything that they do will be almost as good as. So what's this? Imagine this, right? The first one of this 2-part Avengers movie series, mini series, whatever you want to do. The first of 2 parts it's the closing scene, right? And what we get is that flash forward that was it that Thor had, or Iron Man or Iron Man had? I forget what it was.
The Iron Man vision from Ultron, where he sees everyone dead.
Everybody's dead, right?
Yeah.
Who's alive in that? Anyone?
Captain America was on the brink of death. He's the one who says to him, "You could have done more," or something like that.
Perfect. So, it's all everything's a mess, right? Everything's done, and you see this reality stone, right? And then Captain America reaches out and grabs it, and boom. And
so it's the Omega-13.
And yeah, it's the Omega, but it's not going to go back like 10 seconds. But it gets better. So the scene goes black. Everybody's thrilled, excited. Okay, because they did something earlier on in the movie that makes you understand what the power of this thing and what they're going to do with it. Awesome. Now, credits roll. We don't get a post-credit scene like in the middle of the credits. It's very, very much after, screen goes black again, all the credits have rolled, and it pans back in, and he's got the stone in his hand, and he turns to the left, and there's Batman. And he goes, "You need this more than I do." and they just, like, the whole thing is just a punctuation mark on the end of it, and it's just, that's it. they're done. Marvel's done. They're like, there's a mic drop. It's like, we did so good, you're never going to beat us. See ya.
The ultimate mic drop.
Good luck.
By the way, for those of you who got the Omega-13 reference, you can still be our friends. We love you. The rest of you, get the fuck out of here.
It turned inside out, and then it exploded. Oh.
Wait, did you say Inside Out?
Yeah. We're gonna give you time to guess what that movie is, and then we're gonna do it on a future episode.
We can do that as a filler episode.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie about 400 times.
Yeah, same. That movie is way better than it has any right to be.
Oh, yeah. No, that's 100% one of the ones that, like, when you see it's coming out, it's like, that looks stupid. And then you kind of begrudgingly see it at some point, and it's like, oh, wow, this movie is hysterical. Somewhat because it's hysterical, and somewhat because it's so bad it's good.
It's made its way into my everyday vocabulary, and it shouldn't. Like, quotes from that, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's great.
Thank you.
Oh my god. So basically, what we were getting at here, though, is that if anybody, cool. If they're gonna reset, they're gonna do it right, and it's gonna be great. But if anybody's in need of a reset, it's the DCEU, and they have a lot of outs. Like you just mentioned, the Flashpoint thing. If they use that, fuck, great. Do it.
Yeah.
Just stop with this nonsense that's happening right now and give me back.
And even though it will be the long-term answer, if we don't get at least like 10 minutes of Negan as Batman in a Flashpoint movie, I'm going to be upset.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, for like 10 minutes. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the Flashpoint thing. I am not an expert on DC in any way, shape, or form, but I know that in the Flashpoint thing, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, and Martha becomes becomes the Joker. So yeah, if we could get, first of all, for anyone who's listening, if you haven't seen the show Chuck, but if you're a Walking Dead fan and you haven't seen Chuck and you're not aware of the fact that Maggie, whose name as an actress
Lauren Cohen.
in real life I'm forgetting, Lauren Cohen, she does a few episodes where she's just a straight up hardcore Russian villain. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. That's great.
So, yeah, I could see her being Joker for...
Come a long way from the farm. Jesus.
All right?
She's actually pretty badass now, too.
Yeah. No, but she's like the most angry that you've ever seen her on the show times 10.
Nice.
Like, she's vicious.
Awesome. I still have to check that show out. You mentioned it before.
You should do it.
I've not forgotten. I will.
The thing is, I think you and Kim would both enjoy the show.
Okay.
So it's like it would be the perfect thing because it's something you could both watch. You know
Got it. So it's on you if we don't. Perfect.
I mean, have I ever steered you wrong on that sort of recommendation? Cloud Atlas, Scott Pilgrim.
Okay, not. I feel like there was a movie that you gave me that I wasn't thrilled about. Which is, that's an unfair bar. Thrill is an unfair, but you've done so good. The
highs have to outmatch the lows.
I will say, you gave me that comic book, and God, I don't like it.
The That's different matter entirely. I didn't. You were interested in it, so I gave it to you.
Oh no, I know. But
it didn't come with the LBLC seal of approval.
Didn't it?
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I didn't say.
That's true.
You would specifically enjoy
That's
it.
Fair. That's fair. I have the second one over here that I have no intention of opening that I need to get back to you.
Yeah, which I've asked you that because I know you had no intention. I've asked you that a whole bunch of times, and you're like, no, I'll get to it eventually.
No, I think I said originally that I didn't want it, but you like pushed it on me.
I feel like that's how
I think that's what happened.
Maybe it's been years. I gave that to you when you were still in the apartment, so it's been a while. I don't remember.
Yeah, we celebrated a year in this house the other week, so.
Was it that? I know it was like around this time, kind of. So I don't remember.
We closed on the house right before last Thanksgiving, and we moved in. We closed a week before Thanksgiving last year, and we moved in the Saturday after.
Nice.
So, here's to that. Cheers. While I drink this delicious beverage, I might go upstairs to get a second one, which is.
So, we should just leave, open air time while we both do that. Because that's not a fuck you to the fans.
We should get, just some elevator music just to play in the background.
Please hold.
Oh, man. Oh, well, just movie trailers. How brilliant would that be? What
nice.
A great way to... I love it.
Especially if it was, movie trailer for what we're going to do next. If we didn't tell what we're going to do next, it's
Ooh.
We're going to walk away right now. You figure out what we're doing for next week's episode.
Right. I like it. I dig it.
But moving on from this topic that we rambled on, which I actually liked. It was nice. It was like something we would do if we were just on the phone.
Yeah.
Or when I was just hanging out with you,
I dig it.
Just chatting about.
We're on episode 30, and we've finally gotten to where we wanted to be.
But no, fully. We've had periods of that, but now we're at the point where there is no audience. It's just you and me talking.
Right.
So I didn't have a news item per se, but I finished watching The Punisher last week.
Ooh, how was
really
that?
good.
Yeah? I'm excited to watch that. I gotta go through the Defenders first.
All these things, really good show.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. I'm excited.
Especially, if anyone who's, watched all of the Netflix, Marvel shows, if you haven't got to sit down and watch it yet, and you weren't necessarily a huge fan of Iron Fist or the Defenders, because both of those were run by Scott Buck and he sucks.
Boom! Shots fired.
Yeah, I'll shoot that shot every fucking day.
Is Defenders not good? This is really disappointing to me. I didn't watch it yet.
It's just fine. It's just not nearly as good as either season of Daredevil.
Oh, man.
It's not nearly as good as Jessica Jones. Luke Cage isn't as good as those two shows, but it's still good, and it's...
The first half of Luke Cage.
It's just different. It's fun. It's just a fun thing, but it's not great. And Scott Buck, I think, is finally leaving Marvel Netflix.
Luke Cage was good because it was a transition, right? It's it was Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, half of Luke Cage, and in the middle of Luke Cage, we transitioned to crap.
Yes. If you want to take it as 2 half seasons, the first half of Luke Cage is nearly on par with Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Yeah. The second half may actually be worse than the best parts of Iron Fist.
That's probably fair. I know this is not what we're reviewing right now, but the villain in the second half of that is just no bueno. That was some rough acting.
Yeah. But the positive in all of this is that the Punisher absolutely lives up to the first 2 shows, Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Yes! That's what I want. I'm so excited.
It's more grounded, too, because there's no one with superpowers in this one.
Awesome. I dig it.
The closest to a superpower is just that Frank is unwilling to die. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And also to make it quote-unquote... It's funny. They, you have that unrealistic thing where, the good guy never gets shot, or he, only ever gets, winged on, his, tricep, kind of. And, he's it's just a scratch. I'll clean that up and I'll be good in, 2 hours. Frank gets shot, actually shot and, to the brink of death a bunch.
Nice.
He gets shot probably 18 times over the course of the season.
God.
So then it actually starts to swing back to the point where, you were almost dead twice in the span of a month. How are you still doing this?
Right. He's like super vengeance. That's his power.
It's a really good show, though.
Awesome. I'm excited. I Yeah, I really want to get into that. I do have to finish Defenders. Actually, I have to start it. Then I have to finish it.
Iron Fist?
I did.
Okay. It was okay. It was fine.
Yeah, it's exactly. It was fine. But the standard for this stuff is higher than that.
Yeah, so the guy who ran that and ran the Defenders, who I'm pretty sure is gone now, finally, is Scott Buck, and he's the guy who also presided over the downturn in Dexter at the end of that show. So I don't like it.
Gotcha. That's another show that I haven't watched that I kind of want to.
You should. I love that show.
Yeah, Kim watched it. She said she'd watch it again, so we'll probably end up seeing that at some point.
Oh, did she watch all of it? I feel like
Yeah.
I remember talking to her about it, but I couldn't remember. Because there was a couple of people I talked to who were like, oh, I watched a little bit of the first season, and then I wanted to keep watching it, but I was going to watch it with my significant other, and I didn't get back to it, and this and that. Or like, oh, I've always wanted to, and I've got around to it. I know I talked about it with Kim, but I couldn't remember it. I didn't actually watch all of it.
You guys didn't finish talking about it because I was in the room.
That probably
That's
also
what it
may
was.
have been a thing as well. Yeah, that makes sense.
Shall we get into our movie for the week?
One thing before that.
Oh, yes.
There was a moment where I was sitting down, and I don't remember if we talked about this on air at all, but I know you and I have definitely talked about this. And the reason I don't remember if it was on air is because I don't remember when we were talking about it. It could have been last year.
I have no concept of time.
Yes, no, it's just like it's been a year. A lot of things happen in 365 days, you know. So there was a moment where I was sitting down and watching this movie, and it's the first time that Dame Judi Dench comes on screen, and I remembered, oh yeah, that's right, that's what they were. What are you? You're creeping me out with that nod.
I think I know where you're going with this. Go for it.
I remembered that they did that Josh Gad and Daisy Ridley did those videos.
I have that note written down.
I completely forgot that was where those old videos came for, and the fact that episode 8's in a couple of weeks, and we were just talking about how excited we are to see it twice in like 8 hours, and that we will be recording a video, probably somewhat delirious from lack of sleep and excitement.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, those videos were really fun. I love that Judi Dench got up to do that with Josh Gad to just
so
fuck
awesome.
with
those are great. We'll link them in the post for this again, just so that you can see them. But oh my god, that was so funny. When I had that same thing happen while I was watching it. I was like, because I love Josh Gad. And as we're getting into it, this is Murder on the Orient Express. Here we go. I love Josh Gad. So as soon as he's on screen, I'm just excited for him to make me laugh, because that's just who he is. He's so funny. But he played a decent serious role for the majority of this. There was some comical lines, but that's just his delivery, and it's great. But
in general, I'll say this movie surprised me in how many like funny little like jabs and nods and winks and like funny random lines there were. Yeah. I saved a couple that we'll have to talk about. I'm sure you probably have a couple that you want to talk about that just like I laughed at pretty hard.
Yeah. No, definitely. We'll get into them when we get into the spoilery territory. But I love, like I said, I love Josh Gad, and when I saw him, like they do this the whole scene wherever they're walking onto the train, and like I'm realizing the characters that are in this movie. I'm like, wait a minute, and then I had that like that. This is what they were filming.
Yeah, and like I knew that's what they were filming, but it was just. That's what I'm saying. Like it was more than 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, it was a while
ago.
So
I forgot that this was what they were like. That this was the one that they were doing that on the set of that movie.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a fun little. That got me excited while I was watching it. This movie, I liked it. I didn't love it. It's not by any means a fantastic movie.
No, but I very much enjoyed it. I will watch it again.
Right.
If I see it on HBO.
I would go like this is an okay movie. It's an okay to good movie, and that's okay. Like we talked about this before, but you need some of these.
Yeah, well, that was what we talked about a few episodes ago with The Foreigner, right? Where I made the point about the middle class movie.
Right. This is there for me.
What?
This is there for me. Oh, maybe a little bit on the higher side, but it's.
I would say a little bit higher because it's a bigger budget, it's a big cast.
Yeah. It definitely has way more replayability.
Yes, that goes into the whole nature of the mystery, because there's definitely things that, having seen it one time, I would like to go back and see it again, knowing everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it's just kind of fun, you know what I mean? Because even though it gets quite serious, it's about a serious topic, it's about a murder, and it's not an all-out comedy, it's not a buddy cop movie, there's enough humor to make it lighthearted. Like, it was paced well, right, where you got some serious, some lighthearted, some funny, some gritty. There's some blood. There's some laughs. There's all these sorts of things. There's even some discussions on classism and racism and all that sort of stuff, done in a way that's not super preachy, but also gets to kind of the heart of it, even though it's a movie that's taking place in, like, 1934, and it's a remake, and we'll talk about that too, actually. It's a remake of a movie made based on a book.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
were you familiar with the source material going in?
I knew that it existed before this movie was announced as being made as a movie and a book, and I knew the gist of what it was about, but I had never seen the original, nor had I read the book.
Gotcha. I knew about them. I didn't know the gist because I never looked into it, and I kind of liked it that way. And I'm glad I didn't, because we're gonna when we get into the spoiler territory, I'm gonna tell you that I figured everything out early on.
I figured out parts of it. I didn't understand or embrace the extent of it.
Oh, very fair. I'll say that's equal on that. But it was the movie. It's very, the story is very much driven by dialogue, and it's I love that. Like I love movies like that. This is why I love Kevin Smith movies.
You know, the funny thing is he wasn't tied to this movie at all, but at times it almost played kind of Sorkin-esque to me. Mm-hmm. The way that some of the exchanges and dialogue went. Yeah,
I could agree with that. But I love that. That is one of my favorite. That's a genre of movie. I love that.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see that. It's just, and you also have like there's one reason to hire a giant ensemble cast of A-list actors. That is to get people to go to your movie.
Yep.
And then there's another reason, which I feel is the reason here. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but you get a more genuine exchange of dialogue there. That's
part of it, because everyone's kind of bringing their A game. But also, it's in the nature of this sort of movie in which there's 15 people who are nearly equal in their importance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is
a lot of movies, you have like 3 or 4 people who are really important, and then a bunch of other people who go on screen with them sometimes. Mm-hmm. Outside of Hercule Poirot, the main character, he's number 1, and then 2 through 15 are all nearly equal in their importance to the story.
For sure, which is a really cool thing. And touching again on,
you still get a blend too, right? There's a bunch of really famous actors and actresses, and then a bunch of people who aren't famous, but probably will become famous because they did a really good job in this, and that's going to get them exposure.
Sure. And what's cool about it though, you have this ensemble cast, you have a lot of big names, and there's the dialogue depends heavily on chemistry between these characters, and I feel like you can make immediate, I'm sure every one of these people in some way or another looks up to one of the others, so I feel like it creates that it's real chemistry from beforehand. I could be wrong here. I have no idea.
I mean, so Exhibit A in that is something we just discussed a couple minutes ago. Right, the fact that Josh Gad got Judi Dench to try and leverage Daisy Ridley is
amazing.
Proof of what you're talking about.
Right, and I really feel that helps. But I hope that that's the case for the majority of them.
Even though I don't think the 3 of them ever had a serious conversation on the movie.
No, but I do it could definitely help behind the scenes, which is
definitely it's true. Because you see some of that stuff with something like when you talk about huge casts on The Walking Dead, what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan and I can't remember. Norman Reedus seem to be really good friends.
Yeah.
Even though they don't spend a ton of time on screen together.
Right.
Because Norman Reedus has that other show on AMC where he does shit with motorcycles. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is on that show with him now.
Yeah.
And you see all sorts of that sort of thing. You always see with those that show, when an important character gets killed off, you see everyone, getting behind it, this and that, and getting, how upset it was, and how much you see pictures of them on, behind the scenes together. It's did you even share a scene in the last 8 episodes? Right. It's the same thing with this. The 3 of them in this movie, I don't know if there ever was a seriously meaningful exchange between those specifically 3 characters.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing is funny. They're all on set together. They were all in shots together. They were all in the room together. But I don't think any of them ever really exchanged more than a word or two with each other.
Right. It's cool. I want to. I'd love to know more about things like that.
Well, something I noticed, we could talk about. I guess let's move into the spoilers. Just so we don't have to worry about. Even though what I was going to bring up wasn't spoiler, but it just could kind of get there maybe, just as we're talking about it.
Okay. Spoiler veil has been lifted.
Doing that rambling thing we do, yeah. So full spoilers from here. Oh, sorry. We both rather enjoyed the movie. It was a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Go see the movie. It was fun.
Yeah. Agreed.
Full spoilers. So as I was checking out the cast list earlier, because that's the thing we do with this sort of movie, and we're going to have to go pretty deep into that because there's like I said, 15 characters that matter. So Kenneth Branagh directed this movie as well. I don't know if you saw that.
Uh-huh.
He was both the main character and the director of this movie.
Yep.
So a bunch of the people that we didn't really know seem to have worked with him in some sort of like theater type role.
Okay.
I noticed a couple of people I clicked on the names was like, oh, I don't know that person. Has he ever been in anything I've ever seen? Or she ever been in anything that I've ever seen? Who did I notice it with? No, I forget. I know I saw it on like 2 or 3 of them. Her.
Who?
The one who was was she supposed to be Iranian or something? Or Russian? I don't even remember. No, I got it wrong too. Never mind. There was some sort of thing. It was like Kenneth Branagh Theater Company thing or something like that. Like he directs a whole bunch of shit, and I don't know if it was something specifically on Broadway or like on in theater, or if it was a theater role that they turned into a movie or a TV movie on screen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was like 3 or 4 people I saw listed on it, and I can't find any of them now, which is really undermining the point I was trying to make.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Internet.
Yeah, so good talking.
Oh my god!
But so that's what you're talking about, is that behind the scenes chemistry, and the fact that they worked with him would make that sort of relationship work on screen. I think you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. That's very fair. One of the things that I noticed from the outside of the movie is that I was amused a good chunk of the time. Like there are funny things even when scenes are not meant to be funny. Like it's gripping in that way. It's entertaining. I guess that's the best word for it overall. And it opens up, and I started to get I started to understand like the tone of the movie from what they're going through in the opening scenes, and the comedy that they're putting forth in some of those scenes. And as we get into the mystery, I'm like, oh, I know why I like this. This is Clue. I love Clue.
I have the exact same thought. This movie does have a lot of parallels to the way that you experience Clue, the movie.
Right, and
which also, by the way, since we're into full spoilers here, I made that parallel fairly early in the movie, and that should have helped me realize that all of them were involved.
Right.
Because I did figure out rather early that it was definitely more than one person.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it was all of the passengers and also the valet guy. Like, the conductor, the second conductor or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he was part of the crew of the train. You know what I mean?
Oh my god. Yeah, so, well, that's what I was saying earlier. I figured that part out I had an idea of what was going to happen. I knew someone was going to get killed. Again. Right. Again, I didn't know the original story. I never read it or watched the other movie.
Well, going in, about all I knew was that there was a famous detective on the train. Someone gets murdered. They have to figure out who did the murdering, and it's this whole big thing, and it's this whole big cast of characters, and everyone's lying, and this and that. That was the extent of what I knew.
Right, and when I say I figured it out, it's like I had a hunch based on 2 major pieces that happened. That got me to realize which ends up being right. It's not nearly enough evidence to prove that this was definitely going to be the case, like he proves later on. But what it was for me was the 2 scenes are one, which is the one that like sold it for me, was when they tell you about how many stabs and the different depths, and like how it was very sporadic.
Yes, that was also for me when they said this one went all the way through, and this one was very weak. It was like, okay, so this is gonna be multiple people stabbed him.
Right. You know what I mean? So I was like, in that scene, I was like, that was at the point where I was like, they all did it. Like everybody was involved. And
See, I didn't see it then, but if I had counted how many people there were, I just lost track of how many fucking people were on screen.
Right.
If I had counted and realized, there's 12 or 14 people total, there's 12 people on screen, all of them did it, you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be like 3 or 4 people, you know what I mean?
Well, and here's the thing, though, and you might, I don't know if this is something that you picked up on or you'll pick up on it the second time you watch it, but earlier on when they're putting the detective on the train and the guy's insisting that he get on the train, he's not a guy taking orders that wouldn't really care that much. If you look at him, he's genuinely nervous, and he it's like it seems like he doesn't want him on the train. I don't feel like it's just because he's a detective. It feels like there's like the way that everybody's set up is important. So like that was part of it that tied into the stabbing that made me realize that it was probably everyone.
I guess I didn't think it that way because I've seen enough movies and just real life when you see that sort of exclusive high-end thing.
Sure. When
every I is not dotted and every T is not crossed, people like that conductor usually end up feeling the pain.
Right. That's fair.
So that played as more or less true to me. You know what I mean?
Right. That's fair. But that was.
I could see what you mean. You know what I mean?
But what's funny though is like so, and at that moment, it was that moment where he said like however many times the person has been stabbed, and like he's explaining it like the different depths and like it's very sporadic. I was like, oh, this isn't Clue. It's 13 Dead End Drive, and I don't know if you remember that game, but basically,
I remember that it existed, but I don't think
you basically all the characters around the table with the people that you're playing, and you're able to move different. I don't remember the exact mechanics of it, but basically your goal is to kill people before the detective gets to the door, and it's just like they all kill people. This is 13 Dead End Drive, but it was very fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, it was a fun movie, even though it gets quite serious at times. And also, I thought that not just like you were saying, like there's a mixture of the two, but specifically there was a cadence at times to how it went, where it was like things got quite serious, and then someone delivers a dry, witty line.
Right.
And that's almost like our pause, and it's like a physical pause, and we refresh. We kind of let the tension out, and there we go. Or vice versa, where things are witty and funny and this and that, and it's like, oh, nope, we just found that, like, someone just got stabbed in the back or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, it's funny. It's like a weird, if you were to take like you have Clue that's on one end of the spectrum that is wildly goofy and meant to be hysterical. You have a movie like, and this doesn't have like a murder mystery aspect to it, but Grand Budapest Hotel, which is just this whimsical. And
I forgot to put that down here, but it's funny you mentioned that because that was actually a note I had when I was watching this.
Uh-huh.
Not Grand Budapest specifically, and actually it's something slightly different. This movie, visually, looked the way that a Wes Anderson movie would look if it wasn't ridiculous, if it looked like real life.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like if you took Grand Budapest and it didn't look like a little dollhouse, it looked like someone who built a real house that looked like a dollhouse. That's what this movie looked like.
That's fair. I would have to watch it again and really pay attention to the scenes. That could be something deeper. You know how Wes Anderson does a lot of the symmetrical shots, and the whole. There's probably something there with the symmetry and how the main character is obsessed with balance. There's probably something within the scenes that relates to that, which could lead to you feeling that way about the way it's shot.
Well, no, for me, more it was the visual style than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess, because Grand Budapest, I guess, would have taken place in basically the same time period.
Right. So what I was saying, the Grand Budapest Hotel, like that's also very funny, but also there's a very dark tone under the whole movie. And
it's that idea of like kind of the intermixing and the cadence to when we switch from one to the other.
Right, and then this is the left side of that. So like you have like this meter, and it's like this movie, Grand Budapest Hotel, Clue, and you have like this nice mixture that gets you to fully funny, like to mostly funny and to mostly serious. But like it's just interesting to me.
Also, both movies had Willem Dafoe playing in German.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. How great is that man? I love that man.
Yeah, he's good.
Willem Dafoe's the best. Just stop with the lies. Well, just too much.
That was actually pretty funny. How did you figure it out? You mispronounced Turin. Of
Yeah.
all the fucking ridiculous things.
That I love that. Like those things are really funny.
It was great. It was just so absurd.
Yeah, it's great. It's almost that reminds me of the scene in Inglourious Basterds when he gives himself away by doing the American 3 instead of the German 3 with his fingers.
I never saw that whole movie.
Oh my god, I love that movie. We should do something on that at some point.
I know a lot of people love that movie. I've just never gotten around to seeing the whole thing. I saw like the first 2 or 3 chapters of the movie.
I think we're going to have to watch that one together and do the episode right after and have a beer at each chapter during the movie so that we're drunk during the recording.
Wow. We still haven't watched Interstellar together.
Oh my god, it's so good. You're killing me. Oh my god, this is for the future.
Going back though, sorry, to the whole thing about figuring it out. You said your 2 things were the conductor and the 12 stabbings, and the 12 stabbings is the same for me. But another thing that was a piece that I figured out, it was in favor of both multiple and also the idea of the ringleader, is when Michelle Pfeiffer, who's got like 3 different names in this movie, when she has the knife in her back. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is a pretty big clue that A, there's going to be more than one person involved, and B, she's the one who's dictating this all. Yeah. Because it was just so perfectly stabbed in her, right, and in a way that it wasn't going to hurt her, and if you looked at it, it was at an angle where either someone did it to carefully do it, or she did it to herself. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like, someone who got stabbed in the back doesn't... The knife was, like, sticking up out of, like, the way that, like, a quiver of arrows does for, like, an archer. All right, and if the same person did it, it wouldn't have been 1. It would have been 18. She would have been dead. I gotta say, it was unfortunate. I had to run to the bathroom at one point during the movie, which I hate. I just absolutely hate that, having to do that. But the soda got to me. I was really enjoying my popcorn and soda, and it got to me, and I had to go. But I knew the scene coming up was the scene from the trailer where he's going to the cart to tell everybody what happened. So I timed it well. I'm like my own pee break. It's great. I know when to go. So I ran out and I came back. I will say what I missed while I was gone was who had died. Which is pretty important and something that I want to talk about for a couple different reasons. Sure. Unless I didn't see all the trailers or I misremembered seeing the trailers, I didn't realize that Johnny Depp was going to be the one who got killed. Yeah. It wasn't clear to me. I didn't know that either. And it didn't take long when I got back for me to realize what was happening. But it was funny because there was a second where I was like, okay, someone's dead. But who? Yeah. Now, again, this goes to the whole thing with like not being able to put 2 and 2 together to realize that there was 12 people, 12 stabs. Yeah. Because there's so many people on screen that you lose track of how many people are on screen. Right. You couldn't figure out that Johnny Depp was the one who was missing. It also takes a minute while they're starting to question people for me to realize like how they entered the train and who was with who. I didn't realize I didn't realize Josh Gad was with Johnny Depp at the first. Like that part was confusing to me for a second. And then it became clear. What confused me was I knew that he was, but I didn't realize that the old guy was also. I thought the old guy was and not Josh Gad. So if we were to see the movie together, we would have been fine. But that was and then we start getting into these interrogations, which I love that. Wait, hang on a second. I'm gonna stick with Johnny Depp for 2 seconds. Yeah, go for it. Because for one. This is a credit to the trailer, unless I'm misremembering or I missed one of the trailers. I'm glad that I didn't know who was going to die ahead of time. Yeah. I thought it was going to be someone who didn't matter. You know what I mean? Because there was kind of a big deal that Johnny Depp was in it. He got a decent amount of screen time in the trailer. Not so much so that I felt betrayed that he was the one killed. Sure. But I figured he was going to be an important, especially when you could tell from the trailer he was clearly playing some sort of mobster. Yeah. So you figured it was going to look pretty obviously like he was the one because he's got not just potentially the motive but the ability to carry it out. Whereas the 90-year-old Judi Dench or however old she is, would seem less likely to have carried it out. Right. But more to this point is, as I was watching him on screen, I realized this is the first time in a long time that Johnny Depp hasn't played someone super annoying on screen. Like, he was actually acting instead of just being Johnny Depp.
That's fair.
Like, that I didn't want him to go away, that when he was killed, maybe it was for the best, because maybe we wouldn't get to the point where it's like, okay, now you're Johnny Depp and you're annoying me. So maybe it was the perfect time. We got just enough of him, but I actually was like, you know what?
That's possible. Yeah.
This is inoffensive to me. Like, I don't feel like you're just being Johnny Depp. You're being an actor.
Right, you're being this mobster.
Now, admittedly, I didn't see Black Mass. I heard that movie was good.
I want to see that.
But that's the only thing I think that maybe he might have been in. Because before that, the last time I can think of him being something that's not just him was, the fuck is that name of the movie where he plays John Dillinger? I can't think of the name of the movie.
Was it Most Wanted? What was the name of that thing? I know what you're talking about. Public Enemy? Public Enemy.
Public Enemy. That's a good movie. And he was good in that movie, and he was acting, not Johnny Depp.
Right. The last thing that I saw him in was Yoga Hosers. Pride? Oh, yeah. Oh, he's in it.
I'll probably never see the movie.
Oh, my God. It's so stupid. I love it.
You would.
I would. He's in that, and he is also in Tusk. He plays the same character.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And
I didn't realize he was in either of those.
It's great.
Actually, I might have known that he was in Tusk.
I have to find a clip for you from Kevin Smith's one of his stand-up Q&As or whatever.
Wait, is he the one who does that? Is he the doctor?
What? No, he doesn't make the walrus.
Oh, okay.
He's basically the detective. And when
I
I say basically, I don't know why I use that word. He's the detective. He's a little washed up, but he's the detective. But he's really funny, and I'll have to find it. If I do, I'll try to share it on one of these on one of the posts if I could get it for this episode. But Kevin Smith does a whole thing about him, like working with him on it, and it's very heartwarming, and it's very funny. But
he's a weird guy.
Yeah,
he's been through weird shit. Like I won't begin to comment on his life in the last few years because it's one of those he said, she said. And they're probably both wrong. I don't know, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I used to like him in general, and he's gone so far off the rails that it was. It's funny. This is a movie about a train. He's gone so far off the rails. That it was nice to see him being an actor.
Point one, Al. Yeah. He is in one of my favorite scenes of the movie, which is the scene with him and the detective sitting at the table sharing the cake.
Okay.
I love it.
It was a good scene.
Because this guy's he's just a scumbag and you know it, right? The detective knows it too, but he's not weighed down by like that. I kind of have to, I can't always say what I mean. He doesn't care about that. That filter's not there. Like it's like I don't like you kind of thing. It's just the delivery of that whole scene is beautiful. And he's just like, can I have the curly bit on the top? And he eats it, and he's like, I know what I like. And it's just so funny to me, and I love it because like you just want to be able to be like that sometimes.
That scene is one of those ones that kind of like highlights that whole idea of it being like Sorkin-esque. Like some of the exchanges between the two of them are in that kind of fast-paced, like point counterpoint. Like, I mean, it slows down a little bit more than Sorkin often does, but
just like when he puts the gun on the table, wrapped with a napkin over it. And
so the funny thing is that kind of developed rather slowly because I saw him doing something on the table. I was like, is he going to do that cliche thing where he pulls a gun on someone and he's hiding it not well? And like it keeps going on, and then he's clearly doing that thing.
Right.
And I was like, why did that setup take so long?
Yeah. Hey, but with just the delivery though, it was like he served the ball by putting the gun on the table, and the detective just spikes it right back at him, and he's just like, it's basically like, this is why I'm not gonna help you, like in so many words.
Well, the best part about it is he does it so casually. He goes, "Are you pointing your gun at me under that?" He goes, "No, I don't have a gun under that." And then he like lifts the thing and he goes, "That's a gun you're pointing at me," and he just pushes it away. Like,
Well, that's what I mean, though. He just disarms the situation, like with just very casually. Like I loved it.
Well, not just that, but like, okay, this is a guy who clearly, well, he doesn't know at the moment that he is the murderer of the baby, which that was all sorts of fucked up for a movie that gets quite lighthearted at times.
Oh my god, when you find that out, I'm like, go stab him a few more times. God damn.
Yeah, right?
Someone shoot him,
like,
too.
The fact that this movie all, like, hinged on the kidnap and ultimate murder of, like, was she, like, 3 years old? Like, I don't even know. Like,
yeah. Ugh,
but,
brutal.
He clearly knows he's a bad dude. There's a person who's capable of murder, whether or not he knows he's a murderer. And the fact that he's pointing a gun at him and clearly going through some lengths to hide the fact that he's pointing a gun at him, that he literally just picks up the gun and just turns it 90 degrees so the barrel is no longer facing him, like... I don't care how confident you are, like, that's a whole nother level.
Right. Oh my god. It's awesome. It's so entertaining to watch. It's just because, like, they're these really fun characters.
Yeah, and that was kind of like one of my notes. Like, there's just so many characters, and enough of them, I mean, some of them get short shrift enough that, like, there's almost nothing, like, Marquez, I think that was his name, right? Like, everyone kept pointing to, it's either the black guy or the Hispanic guy.
Oh, right.
And it's like, but Dr. Arbuthnot, who we're going to struggle with all night, he got a lot of screen time and is like, okay, cool. And then Marquez got very little screen time, and it's like, I don't actually know what's going on with that dude, but everyone seems to really want to point the finger at him because he's not white, I guess, if for no other reason than that. But I mean, I guess a couple of these characters did, like him, kind of got a little bit... Even Willem Dafoe didn't get... He got one big scene, but outside of that, didn't get to do much, right?
Right. No, you're right. He's on screen. It feels like he's on screen twice. It's a few more times than that.
But being seated with a black guy,
right?
And then there's the big reveal that he's not actually an Austrian doctor and that he's actually a New York cop.
Right. Which was a great scene and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny.
The guy who was the valet, the old guy with the...
Yeah.
Did you recognize him?
I did. He looked familiar to me, but I couldn't tell you why.
I was like, I know this guy, but I must have known him from something a while back, and like his age has changed his face to the point that that's why I can't recognize him.
What's his name?
In real life?
Yeah.
Derek Jacobi.
What
I knew him from once I looked him up was like, oh shit, yeah, that's definitely him. He was like the senator that was like the most important senator in Gladiator.
Oh.
When they're doing their whole overthrow thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because he was 20 years younger and he had facial hair in that movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Awesome.
I was like, I 100% know I know this guy. I just can't figure out why.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, man. That's awesome. I love that when I was trying to remember who the doctor was, and you probably didn't watch it, but I watched the show Smash with Kim, and he was in that. He was pretty awesome in that.
He did seem familiar. I actually thought at first that he might have been the guy from that movie. Fuck is that movie? The Liam Neeson movie that was taken on the airplane.
Taken on the airplane?
The movie that was taken, but it took place on an airplane.
I don't know what
Non-Stop. That's what it was called.
Non-Stop. It was. Oh my God! You're right. I forgot about that movie. I tried to forget, and it worked until you brought it back up. But yeah, it's Taken on an airplane. There's Taken, and we're getting Taken on a train pretty soon.
Yep.
Oh my God! It's too much.
I actually like Non-Stop. It was a solid movie.
There's somebody else in that movie.
There's a bunch of people
who was in that? It was somebody from like some TV show.
Corey Stoll?
It was the guy. He was a senator or something on House of Cards.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him. He was in Ant-Man.
Yes,
okay.
Corey Stoll.
Yeah, that's not. That was when I saw him in that. I was like, hey, it's that guy. It's that one guy.
That one guy. Julianne Moore, and there was Lupita Nyong'o playing. Like I didn't even realize it was fucking her. Even though she was already famous at that point, she's just playing one of the stewardesses.
Right. I forgot about that movie. Back to the murder.
But anyway, yeah, sorry. I thought Dr. Arbuthnot was the one of the two guys from Non-Stop, but it's not him.
There's two scenes that cracked me up. Actually, there's three that I'm remembering right now. The mustache guard scene.
I had that as a note.
What in the hell was that?
I literally was like, is he wearing a hairnet for his mustache?
It's not even a net. It's like this rubberized cap that's like made to be the exact shape and size of his mustache.
Yes, the fact that it was custom made to accommodate the multiple tears and swirls to his mustache.
Right, which his mustache was phenomenal.
Excellent mustache. It's not something I would want on my face, but I just wish that I was capable of having something 10% of that.
Right. And then,
because I keep a mustache, and it's nothing compared to that.
So, this is what you get. Like, there's no reason for that scene other than a little chuckle.
Yes.
Right? And there's another...
Or like him giggling at Charles Dickens.
Yes, I have that right here. Ho, 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 Mr. Dickens.
Yeah.
What was that? That cracked me up, too. And right after that, we get the other scene that cracked me up. When everybody's like, the train derails, and his head just slides out from the room sideways.
Yes, like the camera is like 15 degrees off kilter, like clearly showing that we've had a derailment of the train, which is offsetting, but it's like, okay, like I get it, like that's kind of a cool device. And there's someone who's fallen down and the stuff's falling out of the stuff, and there's a guy who's bracing himself because he's off balance because the train is off balance. Right. And then you have him sliding out, and he's just laying on his chest on the floor, turning his head and looking to talk to someone, acting like nothing's really happened.
That was too funny. I love that. It's so silly. And like the other, when he's laying in bed and they bring him his breakfast, and he measures the eggs with his finger, and he's like really, really excited that they're the same size.
Yes. It was weird because they kind of did one of those things where it was like, we don't have to say anything about it. We'll just show you that he doesn't let it hold him back. The fact that he's clearly got some sort of crazy OCD. Like when I say crazy, I mean like it is so acute. His OCD. Like in the opening sequence or the second sequence of the movie, he literally steps in a pile of shit, and is not upset that he stepped in shit. He was upset that he only stepped in it with one foot.
Right.
So he removes the one foot
balance,
so that he can put the other foot in the shit and be balanced.
Yeah. And that I like that. That's one of those things they could have done, and this happens in movies a lot, where they'll do something like that, and then they'll do another scene or two, but it'll just go by the wayside. It doesn't go by the wayside. It lasts throughout the entire film, which is great. And then the same scene is recapped from the beginning, and it's mirrored in the beginning and the end when he has the guy fix his tie, and it's just... Mwah.
Yes.
I really appreciated that. It's just for God's sakes, fix your tie.
If we're gonna stick on like funny lines and funny situations, like from like Hercule Poirot, not Hercules,
right?
Because she says to him, "Oh, you're Hercules Poirot." And
multiple people say that to him,
and he goes, "No, I don't slay lions." And that I cracked up at.
That's a good one. Yeah, I will say, as much as I appreciate it, I did find him hard to understand a bunch of times throughout the movie, which is fine. That's generally my hearing.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, but it's literally, honestly, it's most likely a me thing. So
I can struggle with accents sometimes too, but thankfully I didn't really have much of a problem with him.
Gotcha.
There's a couple of times where I was like, I didn't get it, and then like it just took me a second to like have the wheels turn, and then like I ended up getting it. Because there was a couple of times, and it was great because there's even like one of those, like another line that I jotted down when I was watching it was one of those ones where I was talking about where it's like you get a moment of levity just to break us out of being something super serious, where they've accosted McQueen and they think that he did the murder. They have the motive and the opportunity, and he's yelling at him about the ledger, and he goes, "The ledger, it's full of what is the word?" And he says something to him in French.
Yeah.
And says, fudge. It is full of fudge.
Yeah. What is it? The chocolate with
fudge? Yeah, it is full of fudge.
And that's funny that you bring that up because that was really funny. And there's a handful of those. I can't remember the specific lines, But there's a handful of things that are, it's getting over the top, and you're just made to laugh right after it. Like it's too much, and then it's funny. It's handled really well, but it's full of the fudge. Oh my god, that was great.
I liked him in this movie. The funny thing is, for the longest time, I didn't know who Kenneth Branagh was until I realized who he was, and I was like, I've known this guy forever.
Oh yeah,
he was Gilderoy Lockhart in the second Harry Potter movie. I hated him in that movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, mostly I hated the character, and I guess to a certain extent he did a good job portraying him. But for probably 10 years, that's the only thing I ever saw him in. And I saw that movie a whole bunch of times, and I was like, I can't stand that guy. He's actually a really good actor.
What else was he in recently? Favorite of ours?
Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit?
No, he wasn't in that. He was in Dunkirk.
That's right. He had a great line in that, too. That was the line when the army colonel comes up to him and says, I thought the tide comes out like 4 times or whatever, and he goes, I guess it's a good thing that I'm the admiral or whatever.
Yeah. It's a good thing you're in the army and I'm in the navy.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's good. I like him. I want to see him in more. He was also he was in. I think he was in Wild Wild West. Let me look this up.
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is him.
The funny thing is, what?
That is him.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
So for the longest time, I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah.
I saw that movie before it came out, before the second Harry Potter. I saw it before. Never realized that was him. Never realized it was the same human being.
I like that movie a lot.
It is a horrible movie that I love.
Yeah. Okay. That's it right there.
It's so bad that it's bad, but I can look past the bad because it's hysterical at times.
It is. It's real.
It's not so bad that it's good. It is horrific.
But I am entertained by it.
Yes, no, I am entertained by it. Sometimes because I'm laughing at it.
What was his name in that? Is it
Arliss
Loveless, yeah. That was great. I have to watch that again.
But if you want to also look at him for one, I guess he's such a ridiculous, over the top, campy, like caricature of a person in that. But he looks like he's having fun doing it. The other thing I've seen him in since I realized who Kenneth Branagh is in the last couple of years, he's done a ton of Shakespeare.
Okay.
And I saw a clip. It was during when I was in an English class in college. I saw a clip of him doing the Hamlet "To Be or Not to Be" scene.
Yeah.
He is a legitimately good actor.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and watch some stuff from his catalog. Yeah,
and he's a director.
He was in a lot of. I'm looking him up now. He was in a lot of Shakespeare.
Yeah, that's what I was. He's done like all of the big Shakespeare plays.
Yeah. Like
in movies or TV movies or whatever, like in England.
I would check those out.
He's also directed a bunch of things now too, because I think he directed the Jack Ryan movie. I think he directed 1 or 2 of the Thor movies.
What?
Yes, the first and or second Thor he directed.
The first one, yeah, you're right. Wow, I did not know that. That's awesome. Let's see what he's. Cinderella, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, Macbeth, Thor, Sleuth, The Magic Flute, As You Like It, Listening, Love's Labor's Lost, Hamlet, A Midwinter's Tale, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. He directed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Interesting. Much Ado About Nothing.
This is the thing. Kenneth Branagh Theatre Live, The Winter's Tale. That was the thing that all of those people were in.
Oh, okay.
Judi Dench was in it. He's in it. The guy who played Book is in it.
Nice.
The woman who played Sonia Armstrong is in it.
Very cool.
Someone else. Some other guy who plays a random character in Orient Express is in it as well.
Book. That guy. What was he in other than this?
I don't know. I feel like I looked at it earlier and didn't. like come up with anything, but he's definitely been in other things.
Yeah, right. I feel like I recognize him. I just don't know from what. But I enjoyed it. I liked that. So the murder, cool. It's figuring out the murder is obviously a portion of it. I
was surprised how long it took them to get to the murder.
Yeah.
I never felt like it dragged. Actually, that's the nice thing about this movie. It's 2 hours long. Never felt like it dragged.
It's wow. No, I did not. I honestly, if you asked me how long it was, I would not have guessed 2 hours.
It might be just a hair under 2.
No, you're right though. It doesn't. The pacing's fine throughout the whole movie.
Very good actually for a movie of this length.
Yeah, well done. I like the interrogations and like learning each character and it unveiling like their relation to the killer and the clear motive for each of them.
Not just that, but what made this unique and what made Hercule Poirot unique is that a lot of times when you see those montage of interrogations in movies like this, it's just the same thing over and over and over again with different lines and different characters. He took a specifically different tact with each person.
Right.
Which played into him as a character and also what played into making this more interesting than the obligatory montage of interrogations.
Yeah.
And even more, it's not quite fourth wall breaking, but basically is when Debenham says to him, you've taken me out of the cold, did her and
I like
trying to
that.
get something different from each of us. Like, it was almost like a chess game at that point.
I see
like,
what you did there.
I like that.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. What did you think? I hope I'm not jumping too far ahead for you on this, but in the scene where they're all in like the train tunnel.
Yeah.
The scene where she points the gun at him and then pulls it to her face, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to let this happen. He's smarter than that.
The funny thing is, I almost thought he did because of his whole thing of, I don't know how to judge, so I'm going to let you. Because he's been so sincere about so many other things that I actually bought that he would be sincere there. I literally can't do this, and we've gotten the whole, I always forget which one's Riggs and which one's Murtaugh, which is funny. In Lethal Weapon, but that whole I'm getting too old for this shit, that was kind of the vibe we've been getting this whole time.
Yeah.
That whole, if this is how it has to end, this mystery has been the one that's been the hardest for me to unravel. That's the point where literally he's basically saying a prayer to try and figure out how to go forward with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'd love to know the backstory of his lost love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that they gave us some story there, but didn't actually tell us what happened. Like, usually you get some sort of closure on that.
Yeah, I kind of like that we didn't.
I guess that makes it relatively unique, but not that we have to get the whole story, but just something. You know what I mean? Like, it was an odd kind of open thread. Although I guess that plays into the fact that this very much sets up a sequel, of which there was sequels of both book and movie.
Right.
There's Death on the Nile, and there's another one after that too, I think.
Which I am excited to see, provided they go forward with it, and this does well enough that they do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it'll be interesting because they'll probably do the same thing, but with now a entirely new cast of characters, right? I don't think anyone else is really going to carry over.
Right.
And that's in the nature of how intricately woven this web of lies was, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. See, I do want another one.
Right? That's a good thing, right? The fact that you would be potentially excited to see a sequel means it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, and I really part of me was like, oh, I like to follow up and read the books, but I'm like, I actually kind of want to sit back on this, and I want to not know what's going to happen when I watch it.
Yeah.
And
actually, it's funny. I guess you could probably go back and read the first one, right? To read the book version of this.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I will actually. I kind of want to do that, but this is kind of. I would like to read it and see how I feel about it. See, here's what I've talked about this before, I think, on the show, but I have this theory that it's not always that the book is better than the movie. For me, I believe it's the first time you experience a good story that is the best time for you.
There's definitely something to that, yeah.
And I'm curious, but it's hard. It's hard. You'll never actually know because you can't experience both first, and you can't take somebody else's opinion because it's not yours.
the outlier for me, maybe it's the exception that proves the rule, is Game of Thrones. I saw the first season of Game of Thrones and then read the first book, and I enjoy the book better than the show, even though I love the first season of the show.
Interesting. Well, it also could just be the manner in which that I read. I tried reading the first book, and I wasn't getting into it.
But that's the only time that's ever happened.
Interesting.
Where the one that's first isn't the one. You know
right.
What I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It might be the exception that proves the rule, you know?
Sure. Huh, interesting. What else you got?
Well, I don't know. Was there anything more about the whole thing with the scene in the tunnel? Because I actually had a different thought about it. Is there anything more you want to talk about with that? Because I did feel like, not that I distracted from it, but I kind of had another thing I was thinking during it. Is there any more about that scene you want to talk about?
Yeah. So just the kind of the thought that like he's very good at what he does, right? So he and he's not the way that he's laying this out is like, if you need to get away with this, you have to kill me.
According to him, he's the best. That line he had was very full of himself.
Right.
If you tell a lie, there'll be two people who know you're God and Hercule Poirot.
Right. Which is awesome. But what's interesting, what's funny, it's like he's tormented by how good he is, right? Because in a way, he wants. It's like you said, I'm too old for this. Like he wants out, but he can't kill himself because he's not that kind of person. He can't not do what he does because he is the best. So,
and like they said, that one line, the Avenger of the Innocent.
Yeah. So like the thing is, like, the only way that this could happen is if someone releases him from like this burden that he has. But he's too good. Like there's a reason there's no bullet in the gun, and I don't think it's because he thinks someone's going to do what they do. I think it's because he thinks they actually would actually try to do it, and then he could put that person under arrest because this is the person.
I don't even know about that, actually. I think he wanted to... No, you know what? I think it's something else entirely. Because what made this whole situation unique was he didn't know where to go next with this. Because he had said earlier in the movie, the world is black and white, which often we hear it's not, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about shades of gray. And he says, there's right and there's wrong, there's black and there's white. And he said, this is the first time I've ever seen where I didn't know, not just immediately, but I've thought about it for how long. I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
And that's funny. He says that, but it's almost as if his actions though are him in a robot mode. Like, I feel like it's very deliberate. He puts the gun down. There's no bullets in it. Like, I feel like this is to draw the person out even further.
It is, but I don't think it was for the intent of arresting her per se. I think it was, I am so truly divided on this for the first time that I need you to decide for me, and he prefers it to her in the way that if you kill me, that'll be your decision, or if you don't, and then I'll arrest you. But what it actually plays out to be is, since there is no bullet in the gun, he needs to see, is there contrition or not? Did you do this wantonly, or is this truly justified? And the fact that she screams, I will take all the blame, and then instead of shooting at him, she tries to end her own life and give the ultimate punishment to herself.
Right.
Is what finally tips the scale for him.
Yes, I do think that does tip the scale, and that is the reason why he gives up this ghost that they gave up as the person that kills him. I do think the motive though behind it still feels to me that the motive behind putting the gun down there with no bullets in it is almost like he is so like, in my mind, this is how I take it. He's so distraught, like he can't do this, but his body's like almost like he's a machine, and like his body like knows, like, you know, I obviously can't let them kill me, or if this is the case, this will lead to the person that is the wrongdoer here. And it puts it down, even though that's really, really, like, he seems conflicted. Like, this is not what he wants. He really does genuinely seem to want out. You see that from the first scene with the tie.
Yeah.
He's tormented, and he's clear about that
for sure. But I don't think that, as much as at first I wondered whether that was the case, because like I said, I took everything he said at face value, because everything he had said has been what it seems. He hasn't done any double speak or anything like that. But ultimately, looking at it once the scene is fully played out, I don't think that that's what it was. It was not an attempt to reveal her to be the murderer, because he knew all the facts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time in a long time that he's had to learn something.
Right.
Something that he didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. There's the discovery of details and facts, but they're all things he knows and understands. It's just finding his way to put those together. This is the first time in a long time, or maybe even ever in his adult life, where he has to actually learn something, and her revealing her nature allowed him to understand something new about human nature he didn't think that he had to learn.
Right. Well, that's cool. I really enjoyed this. I kind of want to watch it again right now.
It's a dense movie, right? Because we're talking about it's a shade under 2 hours, and you never feel like it drags because it's action-packed. And not just with action, but it's packed with everything.
Yeah. What was the other thing you want to chat about In the Tunnel?
Oh, well, so it's funny because just the way it was a raid, and this is not in any way a religious movie, but occasionally there was a bit here and there of a religious undertone, even with him something saying like, your God versus or me are the only people who will ever know. When you consider the number of people who were guilty and the way he walks up to this and the fact that it almost potentially could have ended in his death, right? And the way they're all arrayed facing him on that table, it's almost like a picture of The Last Supper.
Yeah.
I felt that while I was watching it, you know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. It reminded me of the way that the viewer looks at the picture of The Last Supper, the way he's approaching it, and that it literally could be that for one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I got that vibe from the layout. I didn't think of it in the way that you're describing it. That's kind of cool. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit before the show, but there's a scene there in that tunnel where Book, is that his name?
Book.
He's got that gun in his hand, and it did have me wondering what's his role here, because there's a nervousness to the character.
Yes.
And we're told up front what the nervousness is. He's afraid of screwing up this sweet life that he has that his dad has afforded him.
Kill the golden goose.
Right, and that's why he's nervous. That's it. There's no second layer to this.
Well, and it's actually kind of almost like a sleight of hand to the viewer, because when you look at this mirrored at the way the movie opens, with the detective being the one, was the bait and switch, right, where you play the shell game, but the ball was never under any of the shells. It was in the dealer's hand the whole time.
Right.
Where you had the situation with the priest, the imam, and the rabbi, and I love that he sounds just like that old joke.
Yeah.
I love that he says
That's
that.
Great. That's so great.
And it ends up being none of the accused, it's the detective. So this actually could have been the parallel, because at this point, we don't know the answer, right? So when he goes and addresses all of the accused, and you're saying that Book looks nervous, he's the only person, at the very beginning of the investigation, he says, because you weren't in the cart, you can't be a suspect.
Okay.
And it's almost a false supposition at that point, or it could be viewed as such. And as you said, as he approaches them and he's got a gun and he looks nervous, you're wondering whether he's realizing, is this where I get unveiled? You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas in this case, other than Poirot, he's the only person who had nothing to do with it.
Right. It's good. The movie's fun. The more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more I feel like if I had a number assigned to the movie for a rating, like, it would be going up as we speak about it, because I really did enjoy it, and I've heard from other people that have watched it that they there was dislike, and I've read a bunch of reviews, and it doesn't resonate with me, and that's why I love doing this with you, because we could talk about the movie how we feel about it. It's not like we don't have to take on the Rotten Tomato score is not great, if I remember correctly.
The box office is decent.
Is it?
The box office is pretty. Actually, I think I saw something that this was the highest box office for Fox this year.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I think I could be wrong. I just saw a quick blurb. But yeah, no, I agree. I saw 1.5 reviews, and they were kind of down. Like, not that it was like a train wreck, but just that it was just like like, what was the point of this movie? Like, it was just eh.
The fact that you
And
said train wreck right now just makes me so mad at you.
I know, and I usually point it out when I do those things, and that's time I was going to see if I could just let that one slip under the radar, because it was totally unintentional.
Just, that one stung.
Totally unintentional. I was hoping you were going to just let
that
it
makes
slide,
it worse, I think.
I usually call myself out on those.
Oh my God.
Like when I said earlier that his character went off the rails.
Boo!
No, this is a good movie. It's a good, solid movie. And like you said, I think it's because there is so many layers to this. Like that, it, just like I said, that it is such a dense movie. Hell, we haven't even talked about the whole plot and how it all unravels, because there's no need. If you watch the movie, you got it, or you should. And it is like we could spend 3 hours talking about just the way that all unravels, and that's not what's most interesting. The most interesting thing to talk about, maybe just talking about, like, oh, did you see this movie? Like, oh, it was so cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it was necessarily the most interesting thing to talk about in this format, per se.
Right.
Hell, something I was looking forward to talking about, and we haven't mentioned, was Daisy Ridley in this movie. So I was curious to see her in a role that's not Rey.
Yeah.
And she was good.
Yeah, she was. She was great.
I mean, I guess outside of Poirot and Book, she probably had the most lines.
I would think so.
Except for maybe Michelle Pfeiffer, just because at the beginning and end of her character being introduced, she had a whole bunch of lines.
Yeah, even so, you're right. She was she was very vocal, but yeah, you're right. She did really did have a lot of speaking time, especially compared to the rest of the characters. There's one other set I really enjoyed the characters of Judi Dench and her, like, is it her like, what is that woman to her? It feels like a servant.
Her bitch.
Basically. I liked their characters were interesting to me because, like, it was it just kind of reminded me of, like, I don't know if you've seen was it Gosford Park?
No.
But it just had this cool, like, this dynamic there, like that, of, like, that time frame, and I love the scene where they're sitting in the room and he's interrogating them, and when he turns to her bitch, when he turns to the girls, he starts speaking in what language was it? Was it German?
German.
He starts speaking to her in German, and there's just, like, you can see, like, there's such physical discomfort in the room from Judi Dench, and it's like it's so well done. It's like it's outrage, right? Because it kind of makes more sense as you go on, right? Because normally she would probably be
fear.
Right. Normally she'd be, like, yelling and screaming, like, you can't do this you can't do this in front of me, like, this is rude, and, like, and probably all the stuff, right? Because that's the character that she's playing. But it is fear because she does have something to hide. And that's the reason why she's quiet. And that is such a cool scene to look back on, knowing where this all goes.
Yeah.
I love it.
And also, like, the woman who plays her servant, I'll stop calling her bitch. Her servant, I guess. I've seen her in a bunch of things, but because she was playing a German woman, at first I didn't realize. Like, I was like, is that her or not? Like, she was in Hot Fuzz. And she was in the movie Lock, which is just the Tom Hardy vehicle. Tom Hardy in a vehicle as
right.
The Tom Hardy vehicle. Well, I guess she's only a voice in that movie. And also she was in that show I mentioned a few times, The Night Manager. She's a pretty important role in that. She's played kind of a diverse roles in all of those different things. And I like her in general, and I think she's a pretty good actress, even though some of them are quite small roles that she was in.
Right.
Her role in Hot Fuzz, where her job is to only speak in sexual innuendos, I found to be hilarious.
Oh, man. I'll watch that again.
I love that movie.
It's so stupid.
But yeah, anyway, the reason I brought up, like, just that, like, characters we didn't talk about too much, I find the idea of Daisy Ridley and all of the Star Wars leads, the new Star Wars movies leads, interesting is because she's basically the equivalent of Mark Hamill and or Carrie Fisher
Right.
at the time that they were cast in A New Hope, right? Where she's young, she's never been in anything that mattered before. Does she become defined by that role, or is she able to break free?
Right.
Because Harrison Ford had his whole other career, it was very distinguished afterwards. And unlike some of her co-stars in the new Star Wars movies, I guess she's on the same plane as John Boyega, but Oscar Isaac and Adam Driver are both established actors before they come into those roles. Even though they're not necessarily household names per se, I guess Oscar Isaac maybe a little bit more. But they are known. They are people who've been they've been defined by their acting skill or just their ability to be cast in a different sort of role before this. So I'm curious to see where she goes. So this is just one chapter in what hopefully will be a longer book because I like her.
Yeah, same. So here's to you, and we hope to see you soon. Well, we will see you soon. We hope to see you in other things as well.
Yes.
You got anything else?
No, I think that's it. Other than just a weird random note that I don't even have to be discussed per se. It's just like one of those like did you know things. Ridley Scott was a producer on this.
Yeah, I figured that when it opened with the Scott Free logo.
I didn't recognize that. I didn't notice that, but I saw it at the end. Because I feel like anytime he's attached to something, they like shove that down your throat.
Well, there's your gladiator role.
Yeah, I guess so.
Full circle.
But also Simon Kinberg as well.
Yeah.
He's a pretty well-known producer. Well, at least to the point that I recognize the name. He's
right.
the guy who's been involved with all like the X-Men movies.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But I just thought that was interesting. I didn't see anything about those guys beforehand, and that's something.
That is true. I didn't even have to see the names. I hadn't heard. Like you're right. You usually know that going in. Like that's like it's like presented by or brings you blah blah blah. You know.
Yeah. From the people who brought you this movie.
Right.
You know
exactly.
What I mean? Like stuff like that. And that's becoming the new thing, right? That's kind of this will be a kind of an interesting way, I think, to tie this up, considering this ensemble cast with a whole bunch of famous people in it. The idea, if you hear a lot, people talk about in the last 5 or 10 years, kind of the death of the movie star. We don't go watch movies for actors and actresses anymore. Not too often. There's only a handful of actors and actresses. I feel like it used to be like, oh, do you want to see the new Schwarzenegger movie, right?
Right.
Who would you say that about now?
I tried to say it about Jackie Chan. God damn it!
It wasn't a Jackie Chan movie. No, let me say, I'm going to see the new DiCaprio movie. I'm going to see the new Will Ferrell movie.
No. I've seen movies because of Tom Hardy.
I'm going to see the new Tom Hardy. That was one of the names I was going to say.
Who else we got?
But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I will say...
Now I'm going to see the new Christopher Nolan movie.
Right.
Or I'm going to see the new Scorsese movie or the new whatever, right? And it's becoming that way to a certain extent with producers or production companies as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to see the new Kevin Smith movie. Whether he was directing it or producing it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Hell, you might have been saying, I'm going to go see the new Weinstein movie, right? The new Weinstein Court movie. Not anymore, but something that, barring those sorts of things, that's something you would say, right?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Earlier, before we started recording, I said, oh, that's an A24 movie. Mm-hmm. And I saw it because I saw a trailer for it because I saw another A24 movie. Like, that's something that I will say, like, hey, there's a new movie coming from A24. Do you want to see it? Because I like the movies that those people, that production company is making. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, that's an interesting observation. I like that. Cool. I feel like that's something that we'll need to check in on with each movie that we review. We'll have to make note of the production company. All right, well, that's it for this week's Flix in the Six. Tune in next week for Free Fire, assuming all goes well. And until next time, cheers.